I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's poppin', my homies? What's good? Hope you're doing well, doing blessed. Guys, UFC 297, Strickland versus Plessis. My goodness. As always, guys, let's check my bets from the first event. Not a good start for myself. I did have a Costa and Josh Pham, which was a nice parlay at like -115. And on fight night, this same parlay was like -190. So that was a good bet, but the other bets were losing tickets. And I've got no words for Matt Semelsberger. Matt Semelsberger, the fight IQ, just dreadful. Even in the final round, when he defends the first takedown, and then he's going for a choke. Why are you doing that? You're not Damian Maia. So yeah, really bad fight IQ from Matt Semelsberger. A good win for Preston Parsons. You know, he stuck to a game plan. And his game plan was to pressure him, get him to the mat. And we knew that would be the game plan, but for Matt Semelsberger, man, he just wilted. He wilted again. Now, guys, looking at the first MoneyCity champions of 2024, if you see your name on the screen, you already know. That's money. And hopefully I can join you guys going to MoneyCity this time round for UFC 297. First card wasn't great, but let's go. Let's do it. Alright, first matchup on this card, we've got Malcolm Gordon taking on Jimmy Flick. And guys, with a matchup like this, it's potentially a high risk investment if you do decide to make a bet. And the reason for that is both Malcolm Gordon and Jimmy Flick are pretty unreliable. If you look at Malcolm Gordon, he's only won 2 of his 6 UFC fights. He's coming off back-to-back losses against Muhammad Mokaev and Jake Hadley. Both Mokaev and Jake Hadley are multiple levels above Malcolm Gordon. His opponent this weekend though, Jimmy Flick, is much closer to his actual ability. Now Jimmy Flick is also coming off back-to-back losses since returning to the UFC. He got dusted by Charles Johnson, dusted by Alessandro Costa. It's fair to say Jimmy Flick is also fighting for his job this weekend just like his opponent. Now the skill set of Jimmy Flick is that of an opportunistic jiu-jitsu player. His striking defense is really bad, but he's opportunistic. If you present your neck, give up your back, you know, he's going to look to finish the fight. For me personally though, guys, I'm not going to bet on either Malcolm Gordon or Jimmy Flick. Just don't see Jimmy Flick or Malcolm Gordon being worth the investment. You know, Malcolm Gordon's not that good. Jimmy Flick, all about the jiu-jitsu, striking defense isn't that good. So yeah, no bet on Jimmy Flick or Malcolm Gordon. But if I had to pick, if I had to bet, gun to the head, give me Jimmy Flick to find a submission at some point, but I wouldn't advise betting it. Alright, moving into a matchup between Jasmine Jasudavicius taking on the Zombie Girl. And this is going to be grappler versus striker, wrestler versus brawler. This is 2 very contrasting styles. And most of the time when you have 2 contrasting styles set for battle, it's great entertainment, a great fight. The Zombie Girl's known for her ability to take damage. You know, press the action, force the opponent to engage in absolute chaos. She loves to fight, she loves to throw down, and even if you hit the Zombie Girl with your best combinations, she remains in the fight, and that's why we call her a zombie. Now on the flip side, you've got Jasmine Jasudavicius, who's also pretty tough. She's willing to fight, she's willing to engage in violence. However, if Jasmine wants to dominate the fight and essentially win by path of least resistance, in that case, Jasmine's looking for a takedown, she's looking to grapple, she's looking to dominate this fight on the mat, which is entirely plausible seeing as the Zombie Girl's got bad takedown defense, and she's also pretty much a fish out of water once the fight does hit the mat. So yeah, if Jasmine gets a takedown, it's a pretty easy win. However, if the Zombie Girl gets to brawl, if she gets to throw punches, if she gets to stay in the striking realm, in that case, the big underdog probably shows to be a valuable bet. It's all about where the fight takes place. If we're on the mat, Jasmine's going to dominate. If we're on the feet, the Zombie Girl's going to, you know, look good. She's going to throw punches. And Jasmine's striking's not that good. Guys, for me personally, I'm going to side with the big underdog, the Zombie Girl. Moving into a matchup between Yohan Lainesse taking on Sam Patterson. Now guys, starting this breakdown with Yohan Lainesse, a Canadian mixed martial artist who's primarily a big hitter. The main attribute of Lainesse would be the power he possesses. In terms of technique, I wouldn't say Lainesse is that good. He's just got some heavy power, which could be all you need against Sam Patterson, because when you look at Sam Patterson, this guy couldn't put his chin any higher in the sky. He's got a giraffe neck, and having a giraffe neck means your chin is high in the sky. Look at what happened to Sam Patterson in his UFC debut. He got knocked out so badly, just dusted beyond belief. He got dusted so badly, he was trying to grapple with Marc Goddard like 2 minutes later. You know, he was going for over-unders, you know, trying to get position on the fence against Marc Goddard. And Marc was like, listen, fight done. But obviously when you get dusted that bad, you know, you forget your name, you forget where you are, you don't know what's happening. So at that point, you try to get over-unders on the ref. So that just kind of paints a picture just how badly Sam Patterson got dusted in his UFC debut. Now guys, if Sam Patterson tucks his chin, stays on his bike, doesn't overextend, doesn't leave the clinch with his chin up in the air, if Sam Patterson doesn't make any big mistakes, then it's a winnable fight. But I think Yohan Lainesse understands the assignment. You're fighting a guy that's been knocked out really badly in his UFC debut. His chin is in the air. His chin is there to be tested. So give me Yohan Lainesse to find a big KO stoppage. Give me the Canadian. Moving into a matchup between Gillian Robertson taking on Polyana Viana. This is going to be grappler versus grappler. Both are excellent with their Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But if we had to pick who's the better grappler, who's got more success on the mat, in that case, the answer is Gillian Robertson. We know that Gillian Robertson has the most submission wins in women's UFC history. However, Polyana Viana can play Jiu-Jitsu. She can throw up the armbar. She can attack from guard. And she can essentially challenge the skills of Gillian Robertson on the mat. So even if Gillian Robertson gets a takedown, it's not like it's a complete mismatch on the mat. Viana knows what she's doing. She's a good Jiu-Jitsu player. Not a better Jiu-Jitsu player than Gillian, but still a good Jiu-Jitsu player. Now, if we look at the kickboxing, I've never really been impressed by the striking of Gillian. It's always been bad on the feet for Gillian. Offensively, she's not that good. She's not fast enough. There's no power. There's no violence. She's just not good on the feet. She always relies on her grappling to win the fight. And if she's unable to implement her grappling, she never performs well, being made to stand and strike. Whereas Polyana Viana has some pop to her punches. She's technically better on the feet. She's got more power. Now, I did bet against Gillian when she fought Ricci in her last matchup, and I was really confident with that bet because Baby Shark is a beast. But Polyana Viana's not on the same level as Ricci, and that's why Viana is essentially plus 200. However, for me personally, I'd still rather side with the plus 200 rather than siding with Gillian at like minus 250. For me, I'm siding with another underdog. I just think the striking of Polyana Viana is better than Gillian's. And if the fight goes to the mat, you know, like I said, Viana can challenge the jiu-jitsu of Gillian. So give me the big underdog, Polyana Viana. Alright guys, moving into a matchup between Sidey taking on Ramon Taveras. Now this is a rematch that initially took place on the Contender, where Sidey won by KO TKO in round number 1. But the stoppage was so early, just too early. Now, Taveras was definitely hurt. He got caught with the clean 1-2. It set him down. He was hurt, but it's still an early stoppage. And that's why we're going to run this one back. Now, when you look at who's the more well-rounded kickboxer, in my opinion, it's Sidey. His ability to land the head kicks, the teep kicks, the inside calf kicks, the counter knees. He's got more tools in the toolbox. So there's more to offer for Sidey. And when you've got more to offer, you see more opportunities, more openings to deliver damage to the opponent. However, guys, I do believe Taveras is the better boxer. Even though Sidey set him down with a 1-2, I think Taveras could potentially outbox Sidey. Or the fight could go exactly how it went last time, and I could be completely wrong. The fighter that's got more weapons is Sidey. The fighter that's the sharper boxer, in my opinion, is Taveras. Give me Taveras to stay in boxing range, which should take away some of the kicks that Sidey wants to use. Give me the underdog to win the rematch. Alright, moving into a matchup between Jourdain taking on Sean Woodson. And so far, guys, I've picked 4 out of 5 underdogs. Let's see if that continues with this banging matchup between Jourdain and Sean Woodson. Now, Jourdain is a slick striker. His ability to kickbox is there to see. And I also think he's a high IQ type of fighter. Typically, Jourdain likes to throw a lot of kicks, but against Kron Gracie, he didn't kick until like the final 20 seconds. And that's simply because he didn't want to give Kron Gracie a chance to catch a kick and get a takedown. And against Ricardo Ramos, he won the fight by submission, which is kind of crazy because Ricardo Ramos knows how to grapple. So yeah, Jourdain is a slick striker who implements good game plans and his grappling is on a good level. He's just a well-rounded mixed martial artist. Now on the flip side, you've got Sean Woodson, primarily a boxer that's built like a broomstick. He stands 6'2" at 145 pounds, which is crazy. It's difficult to compete with Sean Woodson in the boxing. His jab is good, his 1-2s are good. He's a solid boxer with a big physical advantage. The height and reach of Sean Woodson is going to be a real challenge for Jourdain. It's a challenge for anybody that steps foot into the octagon with Sean Woodson. But guys, here's the thing. When you've got someone that's as tall and long as Sean Woodson, it's almost like, how do you not chop the legs? How do you not kick the legs? How do you not focus your attention on the calf kicks? because one of the best things you can do to a boxer is take away the base, compromise the footwork, and when you do that, you make the boxer more defensive than offensive. And I think Charles Jourdain, like I said, does usually implement good game plans, and I think chopping the legs off Sean Woodson would be a good way to go. So give me the Canadian to find a way to break Sean Woodson, the boxer. Give me Charles Jourdain. Alright, moving into a matchup between Brad Katona taking on Garret Armfield. Another banging matchup. Now guys, both these fighters are going to engage in absolute violence. And I can't see Katona shying away from any violence. And Garret Armfield is a good counter-puncher. He's looking to throw as you throw. And when you've got a fighter that's looking to clip you as you're throwing, it makes for great entertainment. And that's because you mainly get car crashes. Right, the counter puncher either finds success with their counter, or the aggressor finds the chin before the counter puncher is able to counter. Basically, you've got an absolute war that probably doesn't go 15 minutes. Now, Brad Katona has more experience. He's coming off a war with Cody Gibson, an absolute war, where Katona basically showed he's super tough. He's got fast combinations, he can get takedowns, he's a well-trained mixed martial artist that deserves to be back in the UFC. And now you're looking at Garret Armfield, who completely dusted Kazimar in his last fight. And that's mainly because Kazimar has no striking. The fight stayed on the feet, and Garret Armfield had a field day with his boxing. Guys, there's potential for Garret Armfield to find his timing against Brad Katona, but there's also potential for Katona to show his experience, especially outside of round 1. As the fight progresses. Now guys, one thing I do know is Garret Armfield's looking to box, he's looking to counter punch, he's looking to throw as you throw, and I know Brad Katona also enjoys the fight, he enjoys the chaos. We've got a low-key fire matchup. Give me the Canadian Brad Katona to find a stoppage outside of round 1. Guys, if you waited to smoke with me, amen. You've been smoking this whole time, double amen. If you're not a smoker but you enjoy the smoke breaks, that's always been a triple amen gang. Let's go. Now guys, honourable mentions on the first UFC card. Shout out to Nicholas Motta for dusting Tom Nolan and saving his UFC career. Now financially, that wasn't a good thing for myself, but financially it was a good thing for Nicholas Motta. So fair play. That's just how it goes, right? If you lose a bet, someone wins a bet. And if you win a bet, someone loses a bet. And if your fighter wins, they get paid. And if your fighter loses, they don't get paid. Well, they get their show money, but no win money. So yeah, shout out to Nicholas Motta. Now Josh Fan. Josh Fan is so slick. He's so slick. Marcus McGee dominated Gaston Bolaños. Remains undefeated in the UFC. Pure domination. Dusteration. And another dusteration was Bruno Ferreira. Oh my goodness. Phil Hawes. Phil Hawes, you gotta be done. And guys, Mario Batista, to see him keep up with the cardio of Ricky Simone and to work off the fence, to work back to the feet and to outbox Ricky Simone. We knew the boxing was better for Mario, but the cardio, the ability to get off the fence, get back to the feet, that was most impressive for Mario Batista. And the final mentions, Jim Miller. A10 Jim Miller with veteran work, and Magomed Ankalaev proving to be an absolute monster. Alright, UFC 297. Hopefully I can get to MoneyCity this time. Alright, let's go. Now moving into a matchup between Arnold Allen taking on Movsar Evloev. Now guys, let me be completely honest. This is a nightmare matchup for me to think about and to break down. Arnie I've never picked against. I've always picked Arnie in every single UFC fight. I've also trained with Arnie. And by training with Arnie I mean he's taught me a few things about mixed martial arts. If you turn up to BKK fighters, more than not, Coach Arnie will be there and he'll be putting in some work. Arnie's a legend, super humble, really nice guy, exactly the way he is on the mic. Not a loud guy, not a big talker, he's a really great guy. Now guys, here's the thing, Movsar Evloev is also a fighter I've never picked against. From his UFC debut until now, I've only picked Evloev. So guys, for me it's a fight where both Arnold Allen and Evloev have made me nice money over the years. They're serial winners, they only know how to win. And Arnold is coming off his first loss, his first UFC loss, to a legend of the game in Max Holloway. And obviously there's no shame losing to Max Holloway. I was just so amazed with the footwork of Max. You know, I was focusing so much on what Max Holloway was doing. And for the most part, I was just amazed at how difficult he made it for Arnie to find his boxing range. So credit to Max for that. His footwork was so good. Now Evloev doesn't have the same level of boxing as Max Holloway. But what Evloev does really well is wrestle. His ability to wrestle is at a really good level. Not only is his wrestling really good, but his cardio, his ability to wrestle for 15 minutes and to continue to do that at a higher pace, that's really the main weapon for Evloev. His cardio is a real weapon. And guys, here's the thing, Arnold Allen doesn't have bad cardio, so it's not like Evloev is going to have a clear advantage there. But Evloev is still going to fight at a higher pace, and his pace is typically higher than the opponent's. So for Arnie, he's got to be prepared to have his cardio tested. He's got to be prepared to wrestle, and he also has to be prepared to find the target with his boxing. Guys, only one fighter can dictate the dance at any given time. If Evloev fights at a higher pace, he's looking to dictate. So Arnie needs to show Evloev, look, you're not in control of the matchup, and the best way to do that is to find the opponent's chin early and often. As Mike Tyson once said, everyone's got a game plan until they get punched in the face. Give me Arnold Allen via KO TKO and to be the first one to beat Movsar Evloev. Moving into a matchup between Chris Curtis taking on Marc-Andre Barriol, and this fight's actually insane. Guys, Chris Curtis has fight-ending power. His ability to disconnect your consciousness cannot be underestimated. If you make a mistake trading with Chris Curtis in the pocket, you're going night-night. Guys, Chris Curtis has excellent boxing. He rips to the body beautifully. And don't forget, Chris Curtis has trained with Sean Strickland for years. And Sean Strickland just walks forward in sparring, right? Now, when you look at Marc-Andre Barriol, power bar, this guy just walks forward non-stop and engages in absolute violence. He also pushes you against the fence, works in some elbows, and uses some nice dirty boxing in the clinch. He wears you down over the course of 15 minutes. But here's the thing, Marc-Andre Barriol isn't good defensively. So although his endurance is really good, although he's tough enough to constantly force the action, you do have the chance to land clean against Marc-Andre Barriol, and Chris Curtis isn't somebody you want to make defensive mistakes against, because we've seen multiple times Chris Curtis capitalise on defensive mistakes and he finds himself a big knockout victory. And guys, Marc-Andre is a fighter that does the same thing every fight. He's a fighter that relies on toughness, he relies on endurance, he relies on the opponent fatiguing under pressure. And that's not going to be an easy thing to do against a well-experienced, sharp, educated boxer in Chris Curtis. So guys, if Marc-Andre wins, it's really a massive win. If Chris Curtis wins, it's probably because he exploited the zombie-like defense of Marc-Andre. Do not miss this fight. It's going to be absolute fireworks. Give me the Canadian. Give me another underdog. Moving into a matchup between Neil Magny taking on Mike Malott. Now this is going to be veteran of the game versus rising prospect. The veteran is Neil Magny, a fighter that typically has a high output. But man, if you look at Neil Magny recently, there's a clear decline in performance. And of course, fighting is a young man's game. But every fighter declines at a different rate. You look at Jim Miller. The guy is still durable, he's still finding wins. Or a guy like Glover Teixeira who became a champion at like 42. Being past your prime doesn't necessarily mean you can't win fights anymore. But if you're past your prime, you do need to adapt. Because guys, if you don't adapt, the decline in performance does become more evident. And that's what we're starting to see with old-timer Neil Magny. Now guys, don't get me wrong. This is a massive step up in competition for the Canadian, the rising prospect, Mike Malott. A black belt in jiu-jitsu with a striking skill set that does seem to be evolving fight to fight. So far, Mike Malott has only found stoppages in the UFC. He dusted Mickey Gall. He dusted Yohan Lainesse. He dusted Adam Fugit. It's fair to say Mike Malott is deserving of this massive opportunity to fight a veteran this weekend. Guys, in my opinion, Mike Malott's catching Neil Magny at a pretty good time. I think the takedowns could work. They could be pretty easy. And if the fight goes to the mat, Mike Malott probably submits Neil Magny. And like I said about the striking skill set of Mike Malott, even though Neil Magny's got the output, I think Mike Malott's striking is improving. So yeah, pretty confident prediction for me on Mike Malott. I think he dusts the veteran Neil Magny. Alright, moving into the co-main event, and what a co-main event it is. When you really think about it, it's a good co-main. Pennington's on a 5-fight win streak. She's seasoned. She's been in big fights. She's fought Nunes. She's fought Holly Holm twice. She's fought Jessica Andrade twice. She's been in there with the best of them, and in all fairness, she is one of the best. Now on the flip side, Mayra Bueno Silva is a nasty submission artist. She'll snatch your arm, she'll snatch your neck, she'll snatch a knee bar, whatever it is, Mayra Bueno Silva will snatch it. And that's it, fight done and dusted. However, when we look at the weaknesses of Mayra, it seems to be her cardio's not too good. She becomes very flat-footed, and that's probably because every single strike that Mayra throws has serious intentions. Now that is a good thing. We spoke last week about Gaston Bolaños and Marcus McGee, where Gaston had the technique, you know, technically sound, but Marcus had the intentions. And that's kind of the same thing here, because when you go to the cage, when you're in a fight, you want to show that you mean it. And Mayra does that. She shows that she means it, but that kind of gets you tired. right? It's a balance of being violent, but also being calm, being controlled, composed, and willing to be patient. Now, if you don't have the control, the patience, the composure, you kind of find yourself getting tired. So the positive for Silva would be she understands how to put violence into the technique, but it kind of leaves her getting tired too soon. So guys, in my opinion, I would expect Myra to find a stoppage in the first 2 rounds. If she doesn't find a stoppage in the first 2 rounds, you'd still expect Myra to win those rounds. After that, you'd expect Rocky to find more success, start to work her way back into the fight against a fatigued Myra Bueno Silva. And then you could be looking at a 2-2 score heading into the 5th and final round, which at that point, you'd still probably expect Pennington to have more to offer in the 5th and final round in classic Rocky style. Personally, for me, guys, I'm going to side with Myra Bueno Silva to find a stoppage in the first 10 minutes. If she doesn't find a stoppage in the first 10 minutes, the prediction probably turns to dust. But I do like the nastiness in the game of Myra. If you give up your arm or give your neck, it's fight done and dusted. If the fight stays on the feet, at least you know she's throwing with nasty intentions. She may fatigue because of that, but the aim of the game is damage, and I see nastiness in the game of Myra Bueno Silva that ultimately causes damage. So give me the Brazilian Myra Bueno Silva to become the new bantamweight champion. Moving into the main event, we've got Sean Strickland taking on Dricus du Plessis. Just fire. Absolute fire. How do we even start this breakdown? Let's start by saying the style of Sean Strickland is very different to the style of Dricus du Plessis. If you look at Sean Strickland, he's one of the most underrated boxers of all time. And I'm somebody that didn't fully understand just how good of a boxer Sean Strickland really is. And I'm probably admitting that because of his huge upset win against Adesanya. You see that performance, you start to analyse the game of Sean Strickland even more. You start to appreciate his game even more. You start to ask yourself, how on earth is Sean Strickland getting away with this? The only logical answer is he's a very talented boxer. He stands really tall, but his defense is really good. He parries your strikes easily. It's almost effortless for Sean Strickland to just stay in boxing range, in jab range. Sean Strickland's just really good at what he does. He's not doing anything crazy. No need to spin, no need to jump, no need for head kicks. None of that for Sean Strickland. He's playing a completely different game. And I want to speak more about his game in a minute. But guys, let's speak about the challenger, Dricus du Plessis. Now guys, du Plessis has a completely different style to Sean Strickland. Du Plessis is undefeated in UFC. He's had 6 UFC fights and 6 times he left the octagon victorious. He now finds himself continuing his ascent to gold. And if he leaves the UFC octagon as a winner this time round, he'll be leaving the octagon as the new crown champion of the middleweight division, which is a massive accomplishment for du Plessis. He'll also be the first South African UFC champion, which again, a massive accomplishment. So guys, let's speak about how the game of du Plessis is different to the game of Sean Strickland. Now du Plessis is throwing everything with 110% power. This 6-punch combination he lunges forward with, he's throwing serious power from the opening exchanges. Guys, there's no feeling out process. He's looking to overwhelm the opponent early in the fight. He doesn't allow for you to get into a rhythm. He wants to fight you at his dictation of the fight. And his dictation of the fight involves heavy power from the opening exchanges. Now guys, Sean Strickland doesn't do that. In fact, Sean Strickland does the complete opposite. Sean's not looking to put 110% power into his punches, and typically Sean Strickland does get better as the fight progresses. And one of the main reasons as to why that is down to the fact he's not using a lot of energy, whereas du Plessis is using a lot of energy early in the fight. Now guys, one thing I do want to mention about Sean Strickland is the true love that he has for fighting. Sean Strickland had a troubled upbringing, and fighting essentially saved him. It gave him a better life. It allowed for him to feel alive. He claims that he feels alive when he's in the cage. And it makes sense because he doesn't start early. He doesn't go 110% power early. It's like he enjoys being in there. He wants to fight. He wants to test the opponent. He wants to know what the opponent's made of. So guys, if you get tired against Sean Strickland, he will know that. And he will expose that. It's almost like Sean Strickland doesn't really start to fight until he senses that you're done fighting. And when you think about that, it's kinda cold. And I'll say that again. Sean Strickland doesn't really start to fight until he senses that you're done. So guys, if du Plessis doesn't find a stoppage early in the fight, best believe Sean Strickland's going to start to test him in the later rounds. And more than likely, if du Plessis couldn't find a stoppage early, he can't find a stoppage late. So give me Sean Strickland and still a TKO stoppage in the championship rounds or a win on the scorecards. As always guys, let me know you're taking in the main event, the co-main event, your straight bets, your MoneyCity bets, all that good stuff. Drop in the comment section below. And as always, keep your eyes to the sky, never glued to your shoes. Peace.